Residents on the skirts of the city of Dar es Salaam have condemned leaders of their location and Wazo Ward for their failure to control acts of sand mining in the area. Here are the details.
They said sand mining has reached a critical stage as it has even intruded into residential areas of Mivumoni Tageta, causing environmental destruction and damage to roads in the area. They were speaking during a meeting with members of the National Environment Management Council and Kawe Member of Parliament Halima Mdee, who chaired the meeting. At the end of the committee, the Kawe legislator formed a special task force which includes residents of the area, police, NENC, and ward leaders to make a follow-up of the sand mining activity in the area.
Zanzibar First Vice President Maalim Seif Sharif Ahmad has led hundreds of mourners at the funeral in Pemba of former Chake Chake District Chairman of Civic United Front, CUF. Here's the report.
Mr. Mohammed Shafi died of injuries he sustained after being knocked down by a motorcycle in Wawi, Chake Chake District, and was laid to rest at his home village of Matuleni. After being knocked down, the late Mohammed Shafi was rushed to Chake Chake Hospital and later was referred to Muhimbili Orthopedic Institute, Moi, in Dar es Salaam, where he died at the age of 59 years.
And that is the end of the national news. Africa News is next after this break. Africa Journal, a weekly news magazine with an emphasis on African success stories. Produced by African reporters for African viewers. Africa Journal includes world news and features stories of interest to African audiences. Don't miss Africa Journal every Sunday at 9 p.m. only on Capital Television. In the African news. A key summit on Libya, hosted by French President Nicolas Sarkozy and UK Prime Minister David Cameron, took place in Paris. US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton attended, as well as China and Russia, which now recognize the National Transition Council as Libya's legitimate government. Here's more on the story.
It was only a few years from this to this, but Nicolas Sarkozy was the man who took the gamble, the first to recognize the Libyan opposition and the driving force which created a fragile international consensus to act. French planes were the first in the air over Libya, and without NATO firepower, Colonel Gaddafi would still be running the country.
If it hadn't been for Sarkozy's hyperactivity, the war would not have taken place the way it did and when it did. I don't know whether President Sarkozy will be claiming credit, but in political terms, a certain amount of credit is due.
The United Nations says at least 600 people have been killed and more than 900 injured in recent intertribal clashes in South Sudan. Much of the violence is a result of cattle rustling in the world's newest country, where cows are valued not only for their food and milk, but also for their part in bride transactions. Here's the report.
It's one of the worst affected areas in Jonglei State. The recent fighting between the lone Nuer and members of the rival Murle tribe has destroyed most of Pieri village. Uyal Shol fled with his wife and only 2 of his children. He believes his second-born was abducted.
They took my boy, which is 7 years old. They took it away. I don't know why if they killed him, because I didn't find where he died.
Corpses are buried where they are found. We are told this man was in his late 20s. His personal belongings are placed nearby so that if his family returns, they can find him. The attack happened when most people were sleeping. Médecins Sans Frontières compound was also targeted. The clinic ransacked.
Rwanda's visiting chairman and CEO of One Laptop Per Child, OLPC, Rodrigo Arboleda, yesterday paid a courtesy call on President Paul Kagame. Aboleda, who concluded his 4-day visit yesterday, reporters after the meeting that this was partly to pay tribute to Rwanda's head of state and thank him for transforming the country and overseeing reforms. The International Criminal Court in The Hague is considering a case against 6 high-profile Kenyans accused of crimes against humanity. 3 of the 6 suspects accused of orchestrating deadly post-election violence in Kenya are set to appear before court today. Here are the details.
The 6 post-election violence suspects, these 2 are the most significant. William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta both want to run in next year's presidential election. And they command a huge following from their ethnic communities, 2 of the largest in Kenya. William Ruto, accused of crimes against humanity, has repeatedly said he is innocent.
I am ready for everything. I am ready for the charges to be confirmed. Unfortunately, if they are, and if falsehood and schemes and machinations triumph over truth, I am prepared all the...
And that is the end of the African news. International news is next after this break.